Welcome to the Brothers Sinatra podcast, the only podcast featuring two swinging brothers talking about glitch productions. I'm Jack Sinatra.
The glitching out, and I'm Tyler Sinatra, and we're the Brothers Sinatra.
You hear that?
Oh.
I feel like I hear a song in the distance. Hold on.
I'm listening. Hold on.
Okay, so I think...
Yeah.
Okay, I can hear it. It's going, Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that. Sorry, Arsenal.
Oh, wow.
Tough one.
Sorry,
Tough one for the
Arsenal.
okay? Couldn't have happened to a better team. Better luck next year, but who are we kidding? You're not going to be back next year. You're going to be down. You won the Asterisk Trophy, and now you're going down, okay? Now, let's get to our regular programming here before I get to... boisterous.
Jackie, these people came to listen about niche cartoons on the internet, and you're talking
let's
about.
Let's be honest. They found this accidentally. Nobody found this with any degree of intention. Okay.
No one's searching for us. Let's be honest with you,
no,
folks.
But we are
know
talking about
looking.
Glitch Productions. We're going to do a little bit of a comparison of all of the different pilots that have come out within the last year, and then we're going to tack on the Amazing Digital Circus, just as kind of a point of reference to see how they're doing with these pilots. We're going to go through some rankings. We're going to have a scorecard. It's going to be, a lot of fun. We're going to really slice and dice all of these pilots, okay?
There's a lot of numbers going to be thrown around between brothers.
Sure. Yeah,
and
very arbitrary ranking system. But there will be a declared winner at the end of this. Just
there'll probably be a winner.
Even if it goes all the way to penalties. And you better make sure that when you get those people up there to take those penalties, that they don't miss twice. Tough one. All right.
Yeah, and if you go to a karaoke night immediately before that game,
oh boy,
make sure that the host isn't a Tottenham Hotspur fan.
Yeah, that was.
And then also make double sure that you're not wearing an Arsenal shirt.
Oof.
To that karaoke night.
Tough one for Dave. Sorry,
Dave.
All right. Well,
real guy.
Listen, if you're listening to us right now, congratulations. But there's a lot of places you can listen on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We're on all of them, okay?
We're there.
And we're also on a lot of the various social media sites, okay?
Yeah.
The Instagrams,
Facebook, the Facebooks.
Okay, YouTube.
That TikTok.
TikTok. If
whatever
there was
it's
a
called.
Tic-Tac, we'd be on that too, okay? We're hard to get away from. We're kind of in all these places. And what we want you to do, what we really want you to do, like, hype, subscribe. That's what all the people say. I still don't really understand what hype means. They say hype. That might be more of a UK thing because I'm listening to a lot of these kind of, more UK-centric feeds these days.
I feel older and older every time we do this.
Yeah, it's tough. But if there's a button to click that's not a thumbs down, go ahead and click it. Give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that.
Honestly, you could click the thumbs down. Any interaction at this point is sort of okay for us. So,
yeah. I mean, as we've seen today, a successful hate watch is nothing to be ashamed about. So if you hate watching us, that's what I was doing for the last 2-3 hours, okay?
If you're a major sporting team, you may get a random shout out in a niche podcast done by two brothers.
Yep,
talking
absolutely.
about Glitch Productions.
But if you can't find us, just go to veryentertaining.biz. That'll give you a bunch of buttons to press, get you where you need to go, okay? So, we are in the run-up to the imminent release of the Amazing Digital Circus finale in theaters, which is going to happen this coming Thursday, which I believe is June 4th. And the official digital release is going to be all the way on, I believe it's a Friday, 6/19. That is Juneteenth here in the United States. And so we are both going to go see it in theaters. We're not sure when each of us are going to go there. It's very likely that the next podcast is going to be a tiny bit delayed, much to the chagrin of the dozens of people that are aware of this podcast.
Yeah, people are going to be pissed about the delay.
They're going to be upset.
Oh, wow.
Okay? But we're going to see it, and we're probably only going to see it once. So that's going to be kind of a gut reaction, and then we'll probably follow that up in a couple of weeks after our initial response with a more, a deeper dive once we can really see it multiple times and maybe pick it apart a
more thorough investigation, as it were.
Absolutely. So that's what's coming up. today we're going over these 4 pilots, and before we give just some kind of overall thoughts about what we're looking at before really getting into it, before getting into spoilers, we're talking about the pilots of The Amazing Digital Circus, The Gaslight District, Knights of Guinevere, and Gameoverse. All of them, save The Amazing Digital Circus, have come out within the last calendar year and change. So within the last 13 months, they've released 3 pilots, and they're all basically just waiting to see,
which one's going to cook.
Popular
they want to
enough?
know which is going to
ones
cook,
would lead
Jackie.
to the best engagement and interaction. And who knows? Maybe they'll all 3 of them get more episodes. Maybe one of these is dead in the water, and we won't see any more. I
sure
think
hope
there
all
are things
of
to
them
like
get
about
a
all
good
of them.
try.
There's maybe some things, some critiques, maybe some things that, just the nature of it being a pilot and having to kind of exposition dump a little bit. Maybe that hampers some of them more than others. But we're going to get to all of that, and we're going to give, we're going to kind of rank them out. We're going to say, this one's the best, this one's the worst, these 2 are middling at best, all right, in each category. But before we do that, Tyler, any overall thoughts before we get into our little summaries of each of these pilots?
Oh, yeah, Jackie. I think Glitch is going to be the next place for indie animation. Just after rewatching some of these, I watched them all as they sort of came out. I was hip to the Amazing Digital Circus, like when it came out, so I watched all of these other pilots as they aired, and I had a different reaction, I believe, the first time. The second time when I watched them all through again, it really solidified for me that this is the next place. If you, in the same way that comedians flock to Netflix right now because of how many, they just hire the comedians and they do more specials, all that stuff. That's how I think in the next few years indie animation's going to be for Glitch. You're going to be lucky to get a sit down because they might have some extra cash lying around pretty soon, and they might be able to make a few digital artists or storyboard people's dream come true. So I think this might be the beginning of a Glitch era if everything sort of falls into place for them.
It could potentially go the other way too. So I think they're on a precipice right now where they are not the first. They're kind of riding this wave of primarily YouTube creators that are all of a sudden getting theatrical life. And I mean, the biggest, most successful example of that right now is that Backrooms situation, right? So.
Oh, well, that Backrooms is a game, and it got an A24 release. It's a 20-year-old director. Another one, Markiplier did the Iron Lung horror film that got a theatrical release as well, but that was in a very similar way to Glitch, where he distributed it, I believe, or like at least his company. And I think they got snubbed for a lot of things because it was wildly popular and probably should have gotten some sort of recognition beyond
Well, the ultimate recognition is, are people going to pay money to go out and see this stuff?
And they did.
And they did. So that is what has yet to be seen with what we're talking about with the Amazing Digital Circus. I think that I'm hoping that even the people that will have seen the leak, some of them will still go out to the theater. I think there's been some unfortunate discourse that we're not going to get into today. Maybe we'll get into it
maybe
on
later. Maybe we'll have another special of us reading some tweets from our favorite creator.
I think since we're going to have a more reactive podcast and we're not going to be able to get too detailed, we'll just, go over our thoughts after seeing it once. I think we will have to inevitably probably get into just, at that time on our next show, it will have been out for a few days at least. And we'll kind of get what the numbers are, what is it a success? Is it hands down already a success? Is it something that's gaining word of mouth for some reason?
We're gonna have an idea.
It'll be interesting. You have an idea?
No, I said we're going to at that point have an idea.
Oh, absolutely, we will have an idea. I
have
you
a few
had
ideas.
Yeah. Well, this is not the time
for
your ideas because
I was gonna say we should go to the summaries. That was my idea.
Well, that's a good idea then. The first good idea you've had so far. Let's get into the Sinatra summaries, and that means this is a spoiler alert. Okay?
Spoilers. We're gonna spoil some stuff.
We're going to
him more
spoil
than me,
all of
probably.
these pilots, and, we're going to do our best. We're not going to talk about Amazing Digital Circus in too much detail. We've got many hours of that. So my summary, for example, is going to be the shortest summary I've ever given. It's like, a sentence, a single, very run-on sentence, but a sentence
funny.
nonetheless.
Mine might be a little bit longer than yours, but I'm going to go first because traditionally mine are shorter.
Traditionally, yours are shorter. Let's just go one for one. So let's start in chronological order with the Amazing Digital Circus pilot. October 13th, 2023 is when this came out. So about 2.5 years ago by Gooseworks, of course, as the creator, with Glitch Productions being the studio. So what's your
most
summary?
Worksian goose one's ever seen. Anyway, a jester girl pops into existence in an already in progress digital circus world run by a ringmaster Chatterteeth head AI that sends her and the other kooky characters on adventures while the kooky characters themselves constantly experience existential crises that can lead to the pivot point of the episode. Hail the Gloink Queen.
I like that you gave a Gloink Queen shout out.
Yeah,
One
you
thing
have
about
to.
my summaries this week is I don't reference any particular characters very
I try
directly.
not to all the time. That's what
It's funny. I'm kind of going against type with all of these, but here's what I had for the Amazing Digital Circus pilot. A human gets trapped in a virtual reality game overseen by an AI ringmaster and has to cope with the apparent inability to escape, only taking solace in other trapped humans. So that's my
good.
sentence on that.
I feel very letterboxed in right now.
Let's move on to the Gaslight District. This is the first of kind of the new pilots that we're talking about. This came out on April 18th, 2025, created by Nick Shopko, who I have no history with. And by the way,
No history.
all these episodes are just called pilot. So
Yeah.
there's not like any fancy episode titles or nothing.
Right, no, it's just
Especially
The
since
Gaslight
these
District.
pilots in particular that we're going to
Pilot.
go over now, they haven't been picked up yet for more episodes. So they're just pilots. See if they work. All right, Tyler, go ahead.
well, the show, as we know it, begins with an info dump.
Yes, it
Eons
does.
of info. The art style, twisted, bent, and misshapen by design.
Rotten.
The former human, now zombie guys, are in a golden age of never-ending life. The Rotlings, blissful
Oh, you're
in
just
their
reading
lives
the intro, aren't you?
of decadent indulgence, are haunted by a myth. The beast whose blood flows black threatens our blessed world. Fear the prophecy. Fear the human born of the angel's egg. Welcome to the Gaslight District, abandoned by God. The denizens of this land are left to rot, fester, scab, and peel for all eternity. That is, until the main character is the prophecy and they decide to mess up a good thing with a big plan that, while sort of eerily beautiful, didn't really need to happen, and you could have just laid low like your father figure said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a real masterclass in doing too much. We don't have to get too much into it here, but it's like, yeah, you could have just like not done that. You could just
Yeah, you could have just not done it.
could just chill. But yeah, here's my much less, straight from the text.
Hey, only like the middle of it is exactly the same. I
Yeah.
changed some of it.
Yep. All right, so
this is
I have
good-
a
this is good
family of
parody.
undead gangsters hatch a plan to steal an angel egg from heaven and unveil it to the undead masses as a human egg in a bid to prevent the revelation of the protagonist's real identity as a human herself. But it all goes wrong when the egg hatches.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that
See, this is why
cliffhanger.
we both have to do it. Because sometimes I just go crazy with it and I don't actually explain anything at all.
Between the two summaries, you get to the truth of what actually happened.
yeah, you get,
That's why we
you
do it this
figure it
way.
out. It's like the heart and soul of
A lot of
what's
other
going on.
podcasts, they would just have, one summary. That's why we do the two summaries.
That's why we do two.
All right, let's go on to the Knights of Guinevere from September 19th, 2025, created by 3 people, which is always a good sign, Tyler.
Yeah,
Dana
it's gonna be
Terrace,
great.
John Bailey Owen, and Zach Marcus. Go ahead.
Disney, you need to just cut right now. Okay. In a dystopian future that starts with an extended flashback and where Mickey Mouse is not only the economy, but also apparently the government and thereby the police. One hero and one person obviously stealing the work of my hero, working their separate lives, one working with the mouse, one without, while we see the social consequences and their work lives. The real hero finds Mickey's daughter's original but busted up a little battle angel and decides on fixing it with the help of a traitor non-hero friend who thankfully got fired but still has access to Mickey's Imagineering labs. While Alita is fixed, she sees the hero and her gross friend as their children when they first extended flashback.
I like that.
Yeah,
So-
I thought it's yeah,
Mine is
Now
a
you-
little
yeah.
more direct.
yeah. It's,
So,
yeah, tell them what it's really about.
on a theme park planet with a massive socioeconomic divide, a scrapper and a recently fired android engineer find a seemingly discarded Guinevere unit and set out to repair it despite protestations of the scrapyard chief. Turns out, this Guinevere is not merely one of the myriad copies of the theme park's primary character, but a special unit once given from the park's creator to his possible sociopath daughter, who is still looking for it years later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like mine more, but I always do.
I feel like they're much more even in terms of time this time. It's kind of
Yeah,
wild.
normally it's like. Anyway,
All right, let's go on
next
to the
is
Gameoverse.
Gameoverse.
So that came out days ago on the 15th of May, 2026, created by one Ross O'Donovan, the most Irish creator possible.
oh Donovan.
Go ahead.
All right. A Banjo-Kazooie coded video game character team beat their game only to find it destroys their entire game world. Then, after taking the hand of a monochromatic sort of vampire guy, we find them tasked with preventing different games heroes beating their game to prevent their game's planet's destruction. But another group of seemingly villainous characters with possible rug pull way down the line of being good characters try to help the hero win, while our main character suffer trauma response flashback to her world's destruction. No, I don't want to play soccer. Shout out Arsenal.
Yeah, I had a similar problem in writing my summary where you say hero and there's kind of like 2 layers to the hero, so there's like almost
Yeah.
like a meta hero. But in any case, mine is a ragtag group of orphaned heroes visits different game worlds to try to prevent that world's heroes from winning the game while being pursued by the apparent villains who actively do the opposite. The reason for this seeming contradiction is made clear when Flappers the Dolphin defeats final boss Snappers the Shark, resulting in the explosion of his own game world and a revelation of the stakes. So,
Why? I don't know why it happened during yours, but you made me lose the game.
yeah, I thought
Like
that
right
as
in the
I was
middle.
writing it. I kind of lost the game
Yeah.
writing it, you know.
People who weren't alive in the early 2000s don't know what the game is.
Yeah, if you made that, particular type of S in your notebooks, you probably lost the game just now. But
Sorry, everybody.
all right, let's get to our
You
ranking
can't
scorecards,
stop playing.
Tyler. No,
You're
can't.
not allowed to stop playing. Unfortunately, if you know about it,
Yep.
sorry.
It's just a game that continues till the end of time.
It's like the song that never ends, except it's much worse.
Just like Grab Flag.
Oh,
We don't have time to get into grab flag.
We don't have time to get in the grab flag.
All right, let's get to the ranking scorecard. Another game that'll stand the test of time. This was definitely not arbitrary and certainly not put together in 5 minutes by me. Here's the rules, Tyler. We're going to rank each of these pilots within some categories from 1 to 4. 4 being the highest score, because we're going to get a points total for each of these pilots come the end of this discussion. You can only use a number once per category, so you can't, say that there's a tie for 3. You got to decide, okay? And there's got to be a clear winner and loser in each category. Again, you can't just blend and say both of them lose. There's got to be a 1, 2, 3, 4 in each category. Even if it's marginal, you can flip a coin. I don't care. These are the categories before we get into them. Art style, which is basically what looks the best, what's the best thing to look at. Story, which episode within the episode itself only has the best arc, the best story, reveals all of the nuts and bolts of what's going on the best. The characters, which one just has the best characters, the characters that you want to hang out with the most. Which one is most fun? So on a gut level, it's just kind of what did you like the best? It's almost like this is just your personal choice. I had the most fun watching this one. Momentum, and what I mean by this is which one, when you got to the end, did you most feel like, I want to go right to the next episode right now. I got to see what happens next. Or were you like, yeah, I'm good with kind of leaving this alone for the time being. And then 2 more additions that I made kind of last minute. The music and the voice cast. So, not only from a character perspective of I like hanging out with Snap as the Shark, but if there are particular voice actors that put it over the top for you or specific performances, whatever, then that can get a higher score. So let's go category by category, and we'll talk about why we're ranking things the way that we are. And let's start with art style. So what were your rankings for art style, Tyler? You'll give your rankings, I'll give mine, and then we'll talk about it.
All right, Jackie. My ranking. Well, how do we want to do this? Do we want to do it by top?
Do you want to do it by numbers? So why don't we start? Let's start at the bottom.
Yeah, start from the bottom
worst,
now.
And then we'll work our way up. So what got your 1, which is the worst?
So the reason I put this at 1, it's not necessarily because I feel like it is necessarily the worst.
Stop hedging. Give it to them with both barrels.
Okay.
They're the worst.
It's the Gaslight District, but it's multiple things they're doing.
This is mine as well too.
They're doing a stutter frame rate thing. It's cool. It's like almost pseudo stop motion, but CGI. Sometimes they have some 2D animated things. It is jarring to watch. Some people, me, like those sort of things. And it does sort of fit the aesthetic of the grimy, shambly world that they're trying to evoke. But you got to understand that my wife would never watch it. She would
There's
not
a
be
lot
able to,
going on.
Yeah, there's so much happening.
There's so much happening in the frame, and
Yeah.
everything changes so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
You probably honestly need to watch this 4 or 5 times to even try to grasp
everything that's
absolutely
going
every
on.
detail. I think that's my biggest criticism overall of the Gaslight District is, yes, these are all pilots, and the whole point of a pilot is you kind of got to put enough into it in order to kind of get people to see the vision. Here, I almost think they revealed too much of the world just at a basic level, where I think if they had made it a little bit simpler and had this whole father-daughter relationship and we learn about the crew through that relationship more instead of having this really kind of ham-fisted exposition up front, which another one of these also did the same kind of thing. We're not talking about story here, I get that. But the art style itself, specifically with the Gaslight District, there's a lot that I liked about it. I I think that it has, in a lot of ways, it's the most interesting and creative, let's say. But, and shout out to Breadhead. I kind of like that they had just like
Breadhead is
a big beastly guy, a strong man who's just got a giant head made of bread. I did also like some of the concepts where they would, like you said, they flash to a 2D frame. There's this part where they're like in their bar or restaurant or whatever, and he's talking to his daughter, the main kind of head of the gang that has the knife in his head, and he's like, "You're nothing like us. We're musty. We're dusty." And it kind of does. Like SpongeBob did this a lot too, where they would do a close up, and all of a sudden it would be like a different art style.
Yeah, it did do a lot of when he does like the kissy mouth too. It's like a. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and they flick his nipple at one point.
Yeah,
there's some stuff that I just like. I know that some people would turn it off right then, like the ingrown toenail bit. That's not gonna be great for everyone.
That's not gonna play to everybody.
I think that this has a lot of shared DNA with stuff like Real Monsters, which is something I've mentioned actually on our Amazing Digital Circus podcast before. But just that kind of, and you can't call it hyper realistic, but it's just like hyper gross. Like it's like very detailed gross. And there were a lot of shows like this in the 90s, so I feel like there's a lot of 90s DNA that's in here. But I feel like for me, it just is a little too choppy, a little too chaotic, and there's so much there that I think they could have held back a little bit on.
Yeah. And they did a lot. They had like title cards and acts, and it was just a whole. I gotta tell you, I do like it a lot, but it's art style. For art style,
we're just ranking them, so it doesn't mean it's bad. It just means that of them, I would prefer to look at the other three, if I'm being honest. So let's move on to your number 2, Tyler.
Number 2, Jackie, it's Gameoverse.
That's mine as well. We're right.
Oh, really?
In step
we might have done exactly the same ones. This is going to be crazy.
I don't think it'll be that way for every category, but let me tell you why I put Gameoverse at number 2. I think if it stayed in its core art style the whole time of when we're just hanging out with the characters and we're in the normal world, it might have gotten a 1 from me. I don't think it's the most detailed, and I don't think it's the most artistic or the best to look at. I think it actually looks a little sketchy at some points, especially when you're watching it on a bigger screen. The level of it's just not
the
high
line work
definition
is
enough.
Very interesting. It's sort of like rough line work, but like it's stylistically, and
what gives it the extra point for me is when it goes into the real video game centric stuff. Yeah. When you're on the Super Mario 3 style map with Flappers the Dolphin. When you have, even in the end credits, they've got like the 3D platformer view. So those moments where it goes outside of its core style, which is kind of like, half anime-ish, but like really is the most obvious, like this is an internet cartoon of all of these, I think.
For sure.
But then the extra things that it does around it to really kind of please that gamer nerd side of me gave it the extra point.
I honestly have to say the same thing. There are parts of it that there are really good sequences, and this is going to sound like the fan service part, but it's not. When she does the clothes changing with the little toggle, they're like very cool sequences that I think the art style lends itself to because of what they're doing. But compared to the other ones, Gaslight District, Gaslight District is a lot to work with, and the only reason I put Gameoverse above it is because it's more easily cartoon 2D, more easily watchable. But it's not like they're doing anything like outside the box, really. It's like it's pretty standard, except for the things Jackie mentioned before. It's number 2 for me, Jackie. Pretty much the same.
All right, very good. So then what is...
Number 3, though.
Your number 3.
That's the Amazing Digital Circus, Jackie.
And we're in lockstep again.
Yeah.
I think that this is the reason why this is a difficult exercise to put the Amazing Digital Circus in here is because you know where it goes.
Yeah.
So you have to try to bring your mind only to the pilot. And the fact of the matter is, in the pilot, number one, it does kind of almost have that duality we were talking about in Gameoverse, where it teases the lo-fi thing just at the beginning.
The 64-bit.
But then
Nintendo.
It immediately goes in, you've got the whole intro is a great, I think, teaser for what to expect from like the zaniness of the world. But then when you're just in the circus, it's a pretty simplified 3D animation style where everything is nice and structured, but there's a lot of primary colors. There's not a huge level of texture and detail within the digital circus, but it is so confident in what it is that you can't really deny that it should be higher, I think, than the Gaslight District and Gameoverse.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's cleaner, too, just in general. Like, I don't know. Easier to look at, even the first time through. You go back, you watch it, you're like, yeah.
There's nothing from a visual standpoint that is jarring in the way that the Gaslight District is, and the reason I'm comparing those two is because they're the two 3D ones.
3D ones, yeah.
If you just said, I'm going to put on X episode of Amazing Digital Circus, or I'm going to put on X episode of the Gaslight District, Amazing Digital Circus, I know that I can just sit back and watch it. Gaslight District, I'd have to make sure I don't have my phone anywhere near me, because if I look down for 1 second, I'm going to miss 10 things.
Yeah.
At least that's, my opinion, having only seen the one, and we'll see if we get more. But I totally agree for number 3. And then that means number 4 is Knights of Guinevere. And
I think with good reason.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't as obvious to me until I went back and watched a little bit of it today.
It's Disney, dude.
It's really detailed.
It is so... It's crazy.
It's really fantastically animated. You have to say that. A lot of beautiful shots if you're just taking them in abstract, like when Guinevere is falling from the tower in the beginning with the blue intestine kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
Like some really just nice. And then when you get to the grungy, when they're in the scrapyard and all that, there's some nice differences between the pristine kind of theme park elements and then when you're down kind of in the dumps with the lower people down there. So.
And the amazing attention to, there are parts of, the park that have been fashioned into different pieces of, buildings. And it's it's a very interesting watch, and it's incredible 2D animation. I honestly don't know how they're doing it, if they're drawing them frame by frame or what their process is, but they should keep doing it. They're gonna take the 2D animation jobs away from Disney. Do you see the eyes when Frankie does the cat face? It gives classic Disney eyes for a second, and you're like, this is insane.
Yeah,
really good. And they do aura shadings and stuff too. I want to look back at the water when I go back again to look at it, but she has imaginary friends, and they're split lined but also glowing, and it's just such a cool effect. So whoever thought to do that was a genius. I watched those little imaginary characters.
I think in general, Knights of Guinevere is one where I think it's easy on first watch to come off saying Knights of Guinevere is maybe the weakest. I mean, that's an opinion you could have. I'm not saying that's my opinion, but you could watch all of these one time and say Knights of Guinevere is the one that I don't think is going anywhere relative to the others. And I feel like on a second watch, and as you spend more time with it, it's wait a minute, there is a lot more here than maybe I appreciated the first time. Because the first time, again, you can't really focus on everything. You're just oh, who's this character? Who's that? What is this? What is going on? So on second watch, I started to appreciate it more. And it definitely, I originally had Amazing Digital Circus at the 4 spot for this, but I switched them late because after I watched Knights of Guinevere, I was like, oh no, there is a lot going on here. And I think that might be to its detriment when you're thinking about what gets picked up for more episodes. It might be really expensive to produce 8 episodes of Knights of Guinevere versus 8 episodes of Gameoverse,
No, for sure.
So let's move on to the next category, Tyler.
The story.
The story. So what had the best narrative? Just
well,
what was
starting
the most...
at the bottom.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, category-wise.
Yeah,
like,
category-wise.
We're talking about, did we get from point A to point B? Was it satisfying? Did everything unfurl itself like a beautiful rug, or was the rug just kind of like hitting you on the head and then, they just kind of told you what was going on? So what's your number one?
My number one is Gameoverse.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
I just think that, I don't know.
Explain.
It is the most simple concept of all of them. You beat the game, you lose the game. Oh, good. So we got to stop them from beating the game. Okay.
This is going to be good for podcasting because I feel like we're really going to differ. And it's probably because I approach this in a particular way with what I think about. And a lot of it, to me, had to do with, in a pilot, you got to do some exposition. You got to tell people about what is this world, where are we going, and, who are the players and what are the stakes. So for me, my number one is actually Knights of Guinevere for this. And here's why.
We are going to differ.
Here's why. Knights of Guinevere, like the Gaslight District, they did the same thing at the beginning, where they just kind of told you a lot about the world with a narrative voice. To me, that kind of immediately put Gaslight District and Knights of Guinevere down at the bottom of my list. And maybe that's not right, but that's kind of a big reason why I have it like this. I gave more points to the stories that drop you kind of more or less in the action. And that kind of explains where I went with Gameoverse and Digital Circus relatively. So basically, I have Knights of Guinevere there at what
1.
number did I have? Yeah, Knights of Guinevere at 1. I had Gaslight District at 2. And the reason I had Gaslight District at 2 and Knights of Guinevere at 1 is because...
2 as well.
Is because Gaslight District, I really liked the whole heist thing. I think once they got on the heist situation, I think that one thing that I didn't like about Gaslight District is they had the whole Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I think maybe they could have just started on Act 3 and not done that whole structure. Sometimes there was too much text out in the open. With Knights of Guinevere, I felt like the story started at the very end, where it's like, yeah, they're trying to fix up the Guinevere. You kind of have this Olivia character hanging around in the background. But then, like, what was played off as a big twist with Knights of Guinevere, it didn't really land for me as much, where it's like, okay, cool, she sees them as their child selves. Why do I care? The Gaslight District, I think, is more of a, okay, if there was an episode after this, like, literally, how would they get out of this? Like, the entire world would need to flip on its head. I think the stakes were better outlined in the Gaslight District, whereas Knights of Guinevere, I still don't really understand what's at stake here, other than, you could have a whole existential quandary about, are cyborgs and androids, should we treat them with the level of respect that we treat humans? And, there's probably those types of questions within there. It's probably going to be a very AI-friendly show. It's like, yeah, we should treat AI just like human beings.
So. I think it's going to be a little bit different than that. Okay. We can talk about it later. It doesn't really matter what my pontifications about what the plot structure of Knights of Guinevere is going to be. But,
so Knights of Guinevere is my 1. Gaslight is my 2.
Gameoverse is my number 1. Gaslight is my number 2. Gameoverse, it's a pretty simple concept. They give it to you straight. I think narrator trope is equally as good as, like, having the inciting incident be within the first 10 seconds, 10 minutes of, or like, well, in this case, it was like the first minute of the show.
Yeah.
Oh, you have the it's like it's a flashback, but not really. It's in real time, essentially. Well, it's not. It is.
Yeah, you're
flashback.
right. Gameoverse had some
like,
cheap flashbacks.
yeah, it was just like you give a like this is what happens, how she got cut into this society, and then it's like the next scene is them being like, we're on a mission. This is what our mission is to do. Remember this guy you picked up? It's not a narrator, but it's a similar. I give them exactly the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like they.
I mean,
even
I'm
in my
a show
eyes.
me, don't tell me guy, so at least they were kind of more approaching it, but I get the criticism.
Yeah, it's not even like I just find them equally as.
Yeah.
Ultimately, my idea behind the 1-2 is like Gameoverse. Pretty easy concept. It was fun. Story's not too deep. It's I get it.
It's not deep, but it's clear.
Yeah, clear.
The stakes are clear. Again, I think they did a lot more to kind of drop you in, and you're in it instead of it all started when the game.
I do. You're right. The reason Gaslight's number 2 is a lot of pretty similar to Jackie. There's a lot of stuff in there. Could have spent more time in certain parts. The heist is the most exciting part of the episode. A lot of preamble, but ultimately it is an interesting story. Like, the stakes are there. You understand where they're going. And I like the main character. I think she's a little spunky little girl, and I like her. So, cool story, but still number 2.
Yeah, I think at least 3 of the 4 in the what are they called? The Smiling Ghouls or something.
Smiling Dead.
Smiling Dead, yeah. So I think that we already talked about Breadhead, the father with the butcher knife in his head.
Ken.
And then the main girl, Melancholy, I think the main girl's name is. So all 3 of them worked for me. I think it would be interesting to see if that continues. Just like how will they do from a character perspective? I feel like at some point they have to slow down the frenetic pace of what they're doing. And I think if they do that, if they dial it correctly, then it could have legs. But I think, like, oh, man, it would be hard to have, like, 6 episodes where you jumping around like they were in the pilot.
Yeah, just blasting. And like the car chase is so cool though. Like, that is something that lends itself to that art style. It's
Second watch worked better for me once I understood why we were doing this. I think that's another thing is, it's just they kind of drop you. So it's funny because maybe if they had started there and not had that whole narration about this is the world that we're in and this is, everything that's happening. If they had just dropped us in the car chase, let me figure it out as I go. I'm okay with that. But again, I understand that these are pilots and like it's kind of like your audition. But for me, it's like an audition is better when it's almost self-evident. It doesn't need to be all about, the world building sometimes.
And I think an audition is better with a 5-minute monologue.
So my number 3 was Gameoverse. We've talked about it a lot as to why, you put it at 1. I put it at 3, and I've kind of said my reasons already. I don't feel like I need to go too much more into it. It didn't have the kind of exposition dump. It did have a couple of, maybe you could say ham-fisted exposition elements, but some of those didn't come at the very beginning. They kind of came throughout. And I think in any case, they are important for understanding the stakes of the world. Whereas the other ones, I'm not sure that they did. The exposition dumps for Knights of Guinevere and Gaslight District, I don't think added to the stakes in a as profound a way as the Gameoverse. Like, her planet got blown up. Like, that's basically the whole deal there. And I appreciate the simplicity, honestly, of Gameoverse. I think that's one of the things that I am drawn to. However, it didn't get my top spot because Amazing Digital Circus is just a fantastic pilot, and it's really hard to deny that. As its own thing, if there were no more episodes, it would be a really great standalone, piece. Yeah. It doesn't necessitate further episodes. And I think that a lot of the discourse, there's some people that are kind of pilot people, and they didn't like what happened after that. but they still like the pilot. And I think it's it's
Yeah.
their most successful thing ever to date.
But not as successful as Amazing Digital Circus getting number 3 for story for me. It's number 3, Jackie. We all know it's great. It's a person being dropped into a digital world, immediately wanting to get out. Not having an exit door right there. Finding it again at the end. Being pulled back in from the void. Sitting at a dinner table after a digital funeral for someone and realizing that this may be your life from now on. I don't think I need to say much more. It's pretty truncated. It is well presented. And you said it before, if it was standalone, it would have worked on its own. But since we know where it goes, I'm glad to know where it goes.
Also, I love how it starts. It
Yeah.
starts with you're in this zany intro, and the first time that you recommended that I watch this thing, I'm watching that intro. I'm like, this sucks. This is so dumb. Why are we watching this? And then all of a sudden, it starts getting real. I put on this headset, and I can't figure out how to get it off. It drops you in. It doesn't say, the AI was created by CNA to do blah, 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 blah. It just, you're there, you understand exactly what happened, and listen, she comes out and says it, it's like, oh, I put on this headset, I can't get it off, but that's as dumpy as it gets, basically. From that point on, you're with Pomni, trying to figure out what is happening. Why am I here? Why is nobody else freaking out? Like, how do I get out? So, I think that's why it got the best for me, because it kind of takes you on that journey and you're never not kind of with the different ebbs and flows of the episode.
Yeah. You're always present in all of the emotional stakes that happen. There's not a time in the episode where you feel like you're missing something that's happening off screen, or it's like you're just there. There's nothing else happening but what's going on with Pomni at that moment. And it's, yeah. But I do have to say, Jackie.
So tell me why Knights of Guinevere
okay.
is the best storytelling that you've ever seen in your whole life.
So, it's not the best storytelling I've ever seen in my whole life, but I am going to give the narration a pass for one. It is a Disney movie. They are doing a Disney thing. How many Disney things are and there once, long ago, was a They're doing exactly that. I give them a pass for the narrator thing.
They should have done a song,
honestly,
they're really trying to be Disney.
Hey. Wait for episode 2. Okay, if only. I took I think I took different things away from it on the second time than I did the first time. I would have definitely, had I not rewatched it again immediately before making this scorecard, all of them, I probably would have put it at 1 as well. Because I didn't remember a lot of what happened. I remembered what happened in Gaslight District, and I remembered Gameoverse. It's pretty fresh. But I didn't remember Knights of Guinevere that much. And when I came back, me noticing that Frankie is the obvious hero and that her friend is a mooch didn't there's a moment where she's obviously stealing her work in a thing, and you're oh, she's gotten this position, you know what I mean? It's maybe one day I can be in. They're not explicitly saying all of these things, but it's this other girl is in a position past her ability, maybe on account of her friend who is living the slum life, and this other girl is in the upper echelon. She has hidden knowledge about what the park does, and she gets fired, but ultimately wants to seek revenge, and then she says some stuff about like, oh, I would have heard about a different model of Guinevere directly after they have a confrontation with the scrap guy who was like, all of my worst clients are the people who work at the park, and you wouldn't even know about what kind of stuff they get into buying my scrap plastic. We all know that the real money's in exotics, and he holds up a vial, which probably is drugs. Or so. We are, like, none of that I caught on the first time when I watched this. The second time, you see the sociopath daughter who will do anything to get this bot back, but the bot is probably accidentally sentient and doesn't want to be a plaything and keeps trying to escape. And these girls find the escapee bot and reset her to factory settings. And we learn in the story that all of the Gwens, regardless of which one you met, have a hive mind connect. They remember who you are and the first interactions. So when this ultimate sentient bot gets rebooted to factory settings and rebuilt, the implication to me is she doesn't have the memories or maybe the understanding of what's going on with the sociopath daughter trying to find her. Because as far as the daughter has been fixing her the whole time. I'm gonna fix her. I'm the only one who can fix her. Mm-hmm. So when somebody else does it, they fix her like a normal bot. And now this sentient bot doesn't have any of her old memories from this other world where she is the slave of the Mickey Mouse's daughter. And
they also tease some weird past trauma with her that's like the reason why she's the way she is. So, I mean, that just screams that in episode 5, you'll learn why you should be sympathetic to her.
I don't care about being sympathetic to the bot. I think
to Olivia.
Oh, to Olivia. Oh, okay. Well, maybe.
Yeah, her dad is like, the past is in the past. You gotta just forget about that. Just put that to one side, and
Yeah, I understand what you're saying now, but I think the next portion of the show is going to be Frankie not being able to let go of the bot because it's just a regular Gwen bot for all they know. And then
they don't really
getting
sent how
giant mechs at them that are the creations of this sociopath child that are like the Knights of Guinevere, that they're gonna come and grab her up, but realistically our knights are going to be Frankie and her traitor
they're going to be the
friend.
knights, because at one point in the intro, Guinevere literally says something like,
I'm
"Where
looking
are
for
my
my
knights?"
Yeah.
So.
And they're going to save her from bondage, but the dragon in the castle is this young girl who's going to keep sending the entire world after them, and I think that's what I
think it'll be interesting to see what happens with Guinevere's perspective, where Guinevere basically sees everything as a fantasy world.
Yeah,
and I think that has a lot of potential, because I think the reality world could possibly be a drag if you're there too long. So I think it opens up an interesting layer, but that layer is unrealized in the pilot, so it's a lot of potential.
Yeah, it is one of those things. I think we talked about this off the podcast. It's like, if they don't have more episodes, what happens? It's like lackluster. Where exactly the opposite for Amazing Digital Circus. It's like it could just stand and be on its own. I don't think that that's what Knights of Guinevere was designed for. I think these creators were like, we're going to write 10 episodes and just make the pilot, and this is what it is. So I think there's a big overarching story, and now that I see sort of the referential material, which is what I mentioned in my synopses, it's like, I think it could be cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it does feel harsh me giving it a 1. I think it easily could have been a 2, and
nobody's offended by our rankings. We're just two brothers, Jackie.
just two brothers. Now listen, we're already running a little long, so let's kind of zip through these next categories with a little more haste. I think it was okay to spend a lot of time on the story. I mean, I think that's the most important piece, maybe. I think another important piece, though, is the characters. Yeah. So what was your least successful set of characters?
Gaslight District is my least successful set. Okay. I don't understand any of the villains.
You don't understand the villains?
Yeah, it's like they're also just humans, but in robots. So, like, what are we doing? They're brains in robots that they... cool. You didn't give any of them names. You set up a big bird. There's a big bird. That's pretty cool. We like the big angel bird. But, like, ultimately...
Yeah, there's interesting, like, character designs, right?
Yeah.
But there's there's a lot of what am I trying to say? Like crowd. There's like a lot of like the rotten dudes that are just kind of hanging out, and then your main characters, they're all kind of more detailed and
right. But every other rotten dude is just a rotten dude, and you might as well this is one of the characters. I don't want to give too much away, but like there's a reason there aren't that many in the digital circus, and they're very distinct. And then when they are literally designed as a gag to be, just they make a comment in Gaslight District that what is her name? Main character girl, Melancholy has all of her limbs. But all of the other ones look like they are identical, so it wouldn't matter if they had all of the same. Do you know what I mean? It's like, whatever. It's arbitrary, but yeah, character designs and what. I like the small group that we met, but I don't think they're well developed overall.
Yeah. I have it at number 1 as well. I think there's the core, like maybe 3 people in the group that.
Breadhead. The main Breadhead.
Breadhead is the only reason why this could have been a 2 for me. But we don't need to spend too much time on that. So that's 1 for both of us. What's your number 2?
2 is Gameoverse. Gameoverse does a good job. I like the variety of characters. You get your villains, you get your core crew, but again, it's like video game characters. They're doing a lot of like referential stuff. They're good. They're not like out of this world. They're not doing something crazy with them. I like the change in the clothes. I like the foldy map guy. I like how they have the dude who Chris Sabat's character is like a knight with a monster arm. But overall pretty standard anime style meets video game style sort of character work going on. You have your hero, you have your villain.
Yeah, so I had Gameoverse at 3. I think my 2 and 3 are a little closer together, than normal. But yeah, for Gameoverse, for me, what kind of put it above the middle line, I think, is just the basically a big way that I thought about this category was like, which characters would I want to hang out with more on a regular basis? And so I enjoyed. I got to be honest. At the beginning, I wasn't so sure about the Lernosaurus, and then as time went on, I just really started to appreciate just him as a device more, and as a somebody who could actually contribute in an interesting way to the group dynamic.
Oh, I think he's going to be a big deal later.
Yeah, I think Caboodle is maybe the least, I don't really know what I'm going to get from this character long term.
I also think that has to do with the voice acting, Jackie.
Yeah, it could be a piece of it for sure. And then another reason why it got put up a little bit more, I think the villains are just really fun. I think the main villain, like the Darth Vader-ish type guy, you said that he's voiced by the Vegeta.
Chris Sabat. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's,
He gives
very
like
different
it's a
from
really
a
great
Vegeta.
performance.
I mean, I would have
Yeah.
never ever guessed that, but
Yeah.
really fun. And then snappers or flappers, yeah, flappers and snappers, both of them a lot of fun. And I like just how you're introduced to Flappers the dolphin, and it's like, wow, it's just a dumb as bricks. Like when his world blows up, he's probably out of the picture. But no, he's actually going to be around and part of the crew now, and I think it'll be interesting to see now. I'm interested in where that character goes because he just had the rug pulled out from under his entire existence, and he's looking at the world different. So
I'm
I think
interested
that
too because
we're going
in
to see
like
some character shift,
the-
some shift in like the way that they, are just in the world.
yeah, and he acts so different than he did in the web series, and
Yeah.
it's so interesting to see.
So what's your number 2 then?
My number 2 in the categories, or in the character category, is Gameoverse as well.
Oh, did you just said that?
Did we?
So I'm
well,
sorry.
we just
What's
said
your
that.
three?
No, it's
What's your
number 3. Yeah, Knights of Guinevere.
Okay, so
And,
that was my
it's,
2. So yeah, flip flop.
Yeah, it's it has to do with like the art style too a little bit. It's like how the characters are designed, who they are. Again, I really like Frankie, the mechanic girl. I didn't originally, and then I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see some different layers with that, and I think we're gonna and like the layers of the other one who's like taking over her work and stuff like that. I think there's like more to it than on the first watch I would have given it credit for. So it's a 3.
I like the scrapyard boss.
Yeah, the one who has like the weird pipe thing.
I have a feeling that we're going to get a lot of flashbacks if this would continue to the dad who gave Olivia, the theme park world, and I have a feeling that he's a very problematic guy. But a lot of that was kind of under the surface. I think Olivia is potentially a fascinating character with maybe more than meets the eye, which they teased, obviously. But it'll be interesting to see how long they spend. Are we going to see the past? Like, if this pilot continued, is our view into the past going to be explicitly through Guinevere's eyes from now on, or is it going to have a more traditional flashback like we had in this first episode where we kind of started in the past,
I feel like after the end, I feel like it's going to be through her eyes. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's the right choice. I think that'd be interesting. Again, I think there's so much potential. I think that I could possibly just have an entirely different view of this whole thing if we get an episode 2 and 3 of Guinevere. Maybe all of a sudden the characters are like my favorite of all of them. But again, I think that it's really hard to rate any of these against Amazing Digital Circus, knowing where it goes, which is, I think, a big reason why we both have this at 4.
Yeah, there's
for
no
Amazing
way
Digital
to...
Circus.
Yeah.
Not only do we get more episodes with these characters, but even the characters we get in the pilot that are more fleshed out. Let me just say a couple. Kane, number 1, just out of the gate, throwing fastballs. I think Kane is probably the most, I don't know if I want to say most successful character, but certainly the most like in your face, like you will never forget that character. Like you could watch that episode once and like you will walk away saying like, man, that like weird
that Chattertooth guy,
ringmaster guy, like wow,
oh god,
like, just crazy.
Why were his eyes in his mouth?
He kind of steals the show, but also Pomni, like you immediately understand that she is kind of the POV, the heart of the show, whatever you want to say. And then you get the other side characters that we talked about this in the past on other podcasts, but basically we at least get, I think, a good concept of what we're supposed to get from Jax at that point. And Pomni, Kane. We get some of the best bubble stuff happens in the pilot.
Yeah, and I think Ragatha is another one that you know immediately
kind of
what's
in your face
happening.
Right there. But yeah, Zubul and Gangle are kind of the most on the bench and maybe the least developed at that point. So, and then we get the whole, Kaufmo, the abstraction.
Yeah.
You get the introduction to just the NPCs, and they don't explicitly say that, but you kind of get these little threads that kind of introduce you to different elements of the world. You also, we didn't touch on this in the art style, but one of the things that I like about that first episode's art style is when she goes into the exit door, all of a sudden she's in like a photorealistic office world. So there is that kind of, and seeing how Pomni responds to everything within that pilot, and her being kind of a fish out of water, all of a sudden she's in a whole entirely new life, is just really successful. So I think that, coupled with Kane just being bonkers alone, could move that character score up to the top. Just unforgettable characters. I think that's why it is at the top.
Yeah.
And great character designs.
For sure.
Let's
now,
go to the fun category.
Half.
So what did you have the least fun with?
Least fun? Knights of Guinevere. I got to tell you, I did have to watch it twice to understand what was going on.
Yeah.
But once you understand what's going on, you get it. But I got to say, it's like one of those things where that's actually sort of why I scored this the way that I did. Knights of Guinevere does not score very well throughout the rest of this. And the reason I liked it is because of those other things. It is not necessarily fun to watch. It's another trauma show, sort of. I've been watching this show called Infinity Train, and you're like, oh, they're setting up the Olivia thing. They're setting up a trauma, like, father figure. They're setting up an evil person who you're going to have to feel something for later. It's cool to look at. It's an interesting ride, but ultimately you have to pay pretty close attention to know what's going on. Not necessarily fun.
Yeah. My number one was Gaslight District, and a lot of it had to do with what we talked about already, with the art style in general and just the shooting of it, making it hard for me to sit still and kind of grasp everything. I think it's fun. Again, I think when you understand the core pieces of it and you don't have to focus so much just on who is who and what are they doing and why, and you're just absorbing it, and if you're locked in, I think there is fun to be had there. But from a basic level, I had the least fun with it, and I have Guinevere at number 2. I think the reason why it goes above is just because it was easier for me to take in, and I had fun seeing the world building of it all, and the different things that are happening in the theme park. And again, I talked about the Guinevere and the Olivia, and I'm gonna fix her, and then she's flying off the balcony. There's, it's not traditional fun. It's kind of dark, but it's fun enough. So 1 and 2 are kind of pretty close together for me. I agree, though. Guinevere, maybe not the most fun out of the gate.
You're not gonna like what my number 2 is at all. My number 2 is the Amazing Digital Circus, Jackie.
Oh, you don't think it's fun, huh?
Oh, I don't think it's fun. Because, when I first saw... Yeah, I suggested it for us to watch, for you to watch it. The first time I saw it, I was sitting alone in a desk chair in the dark after a long shift at a bar. And I'm on a digital medium, watching a thing about a person being caught in a digital world, and I'm like, oh man, is this where I am right now? I had my own moment. What? And that I don't want. Not everything has to be fun to be good. Let's just make that very clear. I was serious I know how goofy it looks. The first time I watched this, I was like very serious and watching my screen just like very sadly, like, is she gonna get out? I couldn't get it out of my head the whole time. Like, there's a lot of gloink stuff happening, but I really want to see if
the fun kind of happens around the existential dread, to be fair. It's the intro is fun.
Right.
The Gloink Queen and the
Gloink
Gloinks
Queen is
and
fun.
The Gloinks immediately just running away with Zubal's head is fun.
But that's why it's at number 2, because I'm I am in the same boat with Pomni throughout that episode. I'm like, oh no, where are we?
Yeah.
So not necessarily.
You also have that
fun.
bowling, where it is spare across the screen.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it is that juxtaposition. I think you could, take the fun half or you could take the existential dread half. And it just depends on kind of like your mood that day,
Exactly. It's like if you walked into Pulp Fiction thinking it was a romantic comedy,
Yeah.
you're probably not gonna. Anyway, I didn't think it was fun the first time.
So that was
I
my
think it's a
3
great-
Amazing
yeah.
Digital Circus. I had it above Guinevere and Gaslight District. So that's
My
my
number
3.
3 is Gameoverse. I think Gameoverse is like playing a little video game. It is fun. It's got like little Banjo-Kazooie. Me and Jack love Banjo-Kazooie. There's a bunch of like musical references. We'll get that into the music, but like there's like little Easter eggs that if you're into the gaming stuff, it's just fun.
I feel like if you're a child of the 90s, then there's just so much there for you. Like there's if I showed this
Flash
to my
animation
mom,
humor.
like she wouldn't care at all, but I feel like this is not made for me, but like I'm easily within the Venn diagram of whatever demographic they're going after. So it all worked on me. I had a lot of fun, and again, I think the video game tropes of it and the video game illusions and adjacencies made me have a lot of fun with it. And also, like we said before, it's a really simple story to understand. Even before you understand the core mechanic of why our heroes are trying to prevent the hero from winning, you're having fun as you go. Some people will say that it's from the male gaze. I didn't see that at all the first time. It's only after reading, things on Twitter. I'm like, maybe, what
Well,
is
Jackie,
there
we're older
misinformation?
white.
Maybe she
we're
didn't
older
need
white
to.
men.
Yeah, she
You
could have worn a
never know.
one piece. She didn't need to wear a bikini.
No. We don't notice stuff like that. We're just old white men, Jackie.
But I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that it is probably the one that I'm most optimistic of having fun in the future. As more of these come out, it'll be the one that I'm most excited to go and watch just because I know, hey, maybe they'll do a Legend of Zelda thing this week, or maybe, we'll be in this type of world this week. So that's where the fun factor comes for me. So you liked Gaslight District was the most fun for you.
Yeah. So here's my whole idea on Gaslight District. If you don't care about the plot at all, and you don't try to figure out what's happening, and you do that classic MCU watch through, oh yeah, this is fun. It's fun. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's flashing in your face. They're doing like all the different art styles. It is a lot to keep track of, and the story suffers sort of kind of because of it. But boy, is it fun. It's like raucous. There's like gore, the purple blood, all of like the different sort of gross out moments, the real monsters. I think
it's kind of like vocal jazz, Tyler, where it's more fun for the people that make it than the audience sometimes.
Yeah, maybe. This is why I like jazz so much.
No,
but
I think I totally agree with you. I think that if you just take it as it is, for what it is, I think there is a lot of fun there, for sure.
It's just fun to just sort of sit. If I like...
Just
it's
like
something
having
I feel like you could turn
made
off
of bread that crushes guys'
turn the volume
spines.
off and just like let it play, and you're like, if you give it the, I work in a bar. Give it the bar test. Put it on silent in a bar and see if people are like, what's going on up there? And they will. That's a fun movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's
show in this case.
I think there's fun to be had with all of these. They're very different types of fun.
Fun.
I think that the best case for the Gaslight District is that it of all of these doesn't take itself too seriously. You would not accuse it of getting all existential on you, which in a way all of the other ones do. This one much less so. So from that angle, I think you could defend it. Let's move on to the momentum category. So very simply, I don't think we need to talk about this a lot.
No,
Just purely which one makes you want to see the next episode. For me, number one, Guinevere.
Guinevere. Same.
That's yours too?
One.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, I had the Amazing Digital Circus, and here's why.
Interesting.
Here's why. Because as we talked about, it might be the best of them at being its own distinct thing. So I think that you could easily tie a bow on the end of this, and then you're done. They're eating the digital food, and it's like, am I going to be here forever? That could be curtains. I don't necessarily need to see what happens next. So that is why I have it so low at number two.
Wow. My number two is Gaslight District.
That's my three.
It's good. It's fun. There are stakes, and but ultimately, it's what I said it before. You didn't need to get yourself in the situation you're in, and like what? Ultimately,
I think I do want to see what happens next, which is why it moves it up a little bit for me. Just because they ended on such a what happens now? They don't really know that she's a human, so I feel like they could backpedal easily, but they do know that they just lied on a grand scale. For what reason? Well, they're probably all dumb anyway, so I'm sure that they would get out of it because, like, you know, it would be crazy if all of a sudden they can't be in the Gaslight District, which is the name of the show.
The name of the show, yeah.
Like, all of a sudden they have to be on the run and go to, like, other realms other than the name of the show. Okay.
But there are different districts. Momentum.
Number three for you.
Number three, Gameoverse. I didn't put it at 4, and I'll explain why Digital Circus is 4 in a minute. But 3, Gameoverse, because it, you know, different games. You want to see which different game worlds they're going to go to. You said before Zelda. I want to see, you know, a Conker's Bad Fur Day. I want to see a Mario Kart. I want to see all of those. And Glitch has sort of teased some Mario Kart things. So I'm interested to see what other IP that they reference, what other thing. And having watched the web series, I want to know how they fit sort of the overarching plot into the characters that they brought into this thing, because the character list was much shorter in the original.
Because they easily could run away from what they did before, because the most obvious thing to do would be to go watch those and be like, oh, I know exactly where this is going. I'm glad that they took a lot they added a lot more to it, to the concept, and they also, you know, the characters that they did bring in are not exactly the same as they're represented in there, but it is interesting to have that just as an artifact, that original, you know, web series. So that was my 4 was Gameoverse. You basically said it. Like, I just want to see where they go next, and I think that they developed the stakes well in the final push, where now it's like pretty interesting. It's like every single episode, are we going to go to a new game world? I think we should. I think it would be kind of a bummer if they spent like 4 episodes on a single game world at this point. Like, I want to see the variety. I want to see, you know, take me to a game
world an episode.
Take me to the candy store and show me. That's what I want from this show is fun. I don't want to get bogged down in like, oh, now we're going to go back to we're going to go to a flashback and be in like, you know, cat people world for 9 episodes. Like, no. Give me...
We're moved on.
Give me a game an episode, and I'll be happy.
Momentum 4 for me is the Digital Circus. I said before, I went on the existential crisis with Pomni, and at the end of the thing, I'm like, I gotta know if she makes it out.
That's fair.
Oh, you gotta let me know if she makes it out. Does she let her get out? That's what I was thinking the whole time. Momentum 4. We can move on to the music, Jack.
Let's go to the music, and again, I'll be kind of quick on this. I'm gonna just give all my answers, and because I don't have like specific, you know, things I'm gonna point to. But basically, I have Gaslight District at 1. I think it's kind of basic, a lot of like rhythmic things happening, but you know, not a lot of scoring, I'd say. Gameoverse, I have at 2. A lot of fun like sounds and whatever, and I think that it has a lot of potential going forward. I have Guinevere at 3. I think that I think that a lot of the details of Guinevere, from the music to the look, are just so. You can tell that they are just put in with a lot of care. So I could feel that level of care with Guinevere, which is why I put it at 3. And then I put Amazing Digital Circus at 4. I think it's really hard. It's going to be hard for any of these to kind of get to what was able to be done. And I think part of that is the fact that the creator of the show is also has
Doing
a direct
music.
hand in the music. And in that pilot episode, I'm not even talking about, like, obviously we have that song and dance with Kane in a later episode, but even just taking the pilot for what it is, and we talked about this on our podcast where we kind of went through that episode, the level of contrast between not only the opening kind of song where it has that thing, it's like over and over and over and over. Like that whole thing is brilliant. The scoring within the circus, and it's all like, gamey, and then you get to the void, and all of a sudden it sounds more like realistic, and you have like the angelic voices. It's just, again, very deliberate textures. Probably the most successful. Probably the only one where I walked away and the music was something that I was actively thinking about. The other ones, I had to go back, watch it again, and actually listen for what the music was, what music was there.
Speaking of that, I don't even remember what of the music from Knights of Guinevere after the second watch. 1.
It's scoring. It's not.
Is it
it's
like
not music per
background?
se.
Yeah,
and I think that's totally fair. I just thought
No.
I did watch it with actually listening for it, and so I feel like it was intentional. But I could easily see why.
It's one of those things. It's like, this is why we're brothers. My number 2, Gaslight District. Again, it moved up. It would have been 1, but did you listen to the credits? There's like
not this last time around. So
go back and listen. There's like a really, really well sung, like a cappella thing that goes on. So I feel like it's a song that like gives you more information than it should, and then it like starts to. It's cool, but I think that's like the standout moment for the music in the whole thing. Number 3, Gameoverse. Lots of kitschy sort of reference. Leitmotifs, maybe you'd call them, for like, I literally think they're playing like a part of Banjo-Kazooie in some of the stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they're definitely doing Grunty's theme at some point in whatever. And then we talked about it before, Amazing Digital Circus. Not only is it like good music that fits, there's a couple of videos that like break down some of the music, and it is technically pretty astounding what they're doing with some. It's like there's obviously jazz influence. Like Gooseworks knows what they're doing. They're not just it's I don't want to say academic because that makes it sound boring, because it's not boring, but you can tell that there is knowledge in what they're doing, and that's another thing that puts it at 4.
Very good. And then let's go on to the voice cast briefly. So I'm going to kind of rattle these off again. So my number 1 is Knights of Guinevere. It's nothing personal. It's just like maybe not the most interesting for me. And again, maybe that'll change in time. Number 2, I have the Gaslight District, because I think that there's just more. I feel like it was more fun to probably be in the voice cast for that, so it edged it for me, where there's more particular things. You got all these kooky characters, and you have to invent, a crazy voice. That they're really kind of going for it in a profound way with Gaslight District. So that gets my 2. My 3 is Amazing Digital Circus. I think it's a phenomenal voice cast, but Gameoverse took number 4 for me, I think because of. And this is tricky because I know it's not a perfect cast. I think that the line between the voice acting for Caboodle and for the Lernosaurus, I think those are maybe the weakest for me, and like they're not different enough. I wish they were more different from each other. But I think overall, especially with your, and I apologize, I'm so bad with remembering names, but the Vegeta guy, right?
Chris Sabat.
Yeah, so he's a big reason why this edges it for me. Just you get that kind of first stint on the bad guy ship, and you have misinformation, you have the paper guy, and then you have the big bad. And I think the villains really killed it in this, and the good guys maybe a little bit less so. Still okay, but I think the villains are what clinched it for me. And also, I think Flappers the Dolphin, excellently voiced. And Flappers was the same voice actor as which one? Was it Lernosaurus?
As the Lernosaurus, yeah.
Yeah. So I think he's more successful as Flappers than as the Lernosaurus. But I think that it's pretty clear in just about every animated thing that once you get past the pilot, the voice acting kind of settles into a different place. So I think that they'll figure it out. Obviously, if I'm taking everything as kind of what it becomes, I think that Amazing Digital Circus wins just because we have the track record and everybody does settle into their voices really well. But if you go back, if you go back and listen to that pilot, though, there's some that haven't quite settled, and like someone we haven't mentioned so far is Kinger. I think Kinger is like almost a throwaway character in the pilot, and becomes obviously much more important later on. But that was one voice that wasn't figured out yet.
Can't believe I haven't mentioned my man Kinger.
Yeah. So that's what I had. What did you have for these?
It's funny because this might be the most different we've been in the entire thing. My number 1 is Gameoverse.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Digital Circus. My number 3 is Knights of Guinevere, and my number 4 is Gaslight.
That's fun.
And it's sort of for like the exact opposite reasons or like the same reasons, but for the opposite perspective. Those character voices, they are just going for them. And I think that, Breadhead and Mud and the dad who has multiple personalities, he's doing an incredible job.
Yeah.
They're doing, it is wild, it's insane, but they're doing great character voices, and I can never take that away from them. Again, you said that's why 2 is Digital Circus. We don't need to go over why Digital Circus. There's, again, settling in. But the big one, the contention I have with the Gameoverse, right, and why it is at 1, and nothing away from one of the, my childhood favorite voice actors, but he is the standout best voice actor in that entire show. And it's like when you hear him up against, and I don't want to disparage these because I think everything is good. We are rating these against one another. All of them are exceptional examples of indie animation. The Jay Schlatt's character, the backpack, it is, in my opinion, the weakest voice acting performance of any voice acting. And it's not bad, but it is the weakest voice acting performance that any of the voice actors get.
I think, to be honest, it's probably the most forgettable.
Right, but the problem I have with it is you also have one of the best voice actors of my generation, or at least the most recognizable, and you have somebody who is obviously a novice playing opposite one another. One of them's like a main character of a 2-part, and one of them's the main villain. And the other people are good. Kit sounds good. She sounds as good as any of the Digital Circus people do. But the villains take everything. All of the main cast, it's like they are the weakest part of the voice cast, even counting Flappers, while the voice is great. Not misinformation, way better than Flappers to me. And it's like all of these sort of...
Also, shout out to Snappers.
Yeah, Snappers is great too.
Gone too soon.
All of the villains had pretty great performances, and I think that the heroes were just sort of... But you know what the best part about that is? Maybe it is the case that all of them are fresh new voice acting talents, which would be a great thing for all of them to just be in the room or be in a project with a bunch of people who are, seasoned. And for all of them, I hope settle into their voices and have incredible success with all of these shows. But those are my rankings, Jackie.
Yeah, no, I think that absolutely makes a lot of sense. I think for me, why Guinevere was so low relatively is I just didn't feel like there was maybe a standout performance where there was so obviously standout performances within Gameoverse. But I agree that actually, what's funny for me is my favorite and my least favorite performance both come from Gameoverse, so it's funny how
it's
it rose to the top for me, but it is, it's a gut check. Okay, let's talk about our totals here then. So initially when I was kind of going through this, I had 2 ties, but as I've kind of mulled around and adjusted things, I do have some slight edges. And here is where I'm at. My lowest totem pole property is Gaslight District with 11 total points for me. I have a feeling it's higher for you.
Oh, all of mine are higher. Everything got over 11. Save for Amazing Digital Circus, they're all within 1 or 2 points of each other technically.
Okay. Mine wasn't as close. So what's your lowest one?
Mine is Gameoverse at 15.
Okay, so Gameoverse at 15 is your lowest rung. My next one up is Guinevere with 14 points.
My next one up is Gaslight District at 16.
Okay. My runner-up is Gameoverse with 22 points.
My runner-up is Knights of Guinevere with 17.
And then my winner is Amazing Digital Circus with 23 points. They did it, folks. The underdog.
Amazing Digital Circus, 22 points for me. They did it.
I mean, what this says is that we are completely in the bag for Amazing Digital Circus. Probably cannot be,
You can't dissuade us.
Be in here with a fresh mind about it. But it is also, a classic already for a reason. Even if we were fresh and hadn't seen the rest of it, I think it probably takes it. But for me, it did just edge it. You were lower on Gameoverse than me. I honestly, when I think a lot of my additional points for Gameoverse came from my level of hype for it. I think it's the one that I'm the most. Yeah. I think it's also the one that I'm the most confident will get picked up. Funny enough.
Oh, I think it's gonna go. I think.
Number one, I do think, barring whatever they need to pay for getting good voice talent, I think it'll probably be the cheapest to produce from a pure animation standpoint. I'd be surprised if that's not the case. I would really be surprised.
Yeah.
I think that Gaslight very likely is the most expensive, but I would not be shocked if you told me, no, it's Knights of Guinevere that actually takes the most. Both of them, very intricate styles that I feel like probably require more
hours and hours.
Yeah, more money, more manpower. Yeah. Whereas Gameoverse, I feel like they intentionally kind of put it down. They put it like, let's take this down a peg, lower the complexity because we actually want to put out more episodes. And if they can do that at a significantly faster clip than they did with Digital Circus, if we can take that 6 month and make it once a month, I mean, that would be a step.
There's a chance. Yeah, if they do that, there's a chance it becomes the most successful show that Glitch produces just because of the frequency and the ability to produce them.
Yeah.
Sorry, Digital Circus fans.
But what are your... So, would you like to see more episodes of all of these, or are there any of these that you're like, no, I think it's, go ahead and stick that one in the corner?
Well, I'd like to see them all. If I had gun to my head, had to pick one to put in the corner, I'd put Gaslight District in the corner. Despite my rankings, this is what confused me so much. When I did this, I wasn't thinking about the totals at the end, and what ended up happening was the one that I didn't think I liked as much one out of the 3 newest ones, and the one that I thought I would like the most lost.
I think that's really telling, though, and that's interesting because I think that could be the case when you're in a creative industry and you're making something, you could say, it's got all of this stuff going for it. It's got great characters. It's a lot of fun. It's got a story that leaves you wanting more. It's got decent music. It's got a great voice cast. But people keep walking away being like, wow, I feel like I just lived 9 lifetimes and I would love to do anything else right now. That's just sometimes how it works.
I'm going to go play pickleball.
But that's just how it is sometimes. It's like you can't decide what you're drawn to and what you're not. And since it's an industry, the animation industry or whatever, at the end of the day, there has to be a compromise between all of these different artistic values and all of these things that we've been talking about and your ability to actually produce it and produce enough of it to have it be something that makes sense to keep on doing and, fuel itself. So I think that Gameoverse
just
is
like
the most
these
likely.
podcasts.
Just like that. But I will tell you that after a revisit, I think I am really interested in seeing where Knights of Guinevere would go, but I'm not optimistic that it'll get, what it needs. I wasn't around for what was happening when this was released and the reaction, but I do know that Gameoverse was recently the fastest pilot of any of these, including Amazing Digital Circus, to reach 10 million views. So the fact that Gaslight and Guinevere didn't get close to Amazing Digital Circus doesn't bode well for it. Gameoverse, I think, is an easier sell overall, and I think a lot of the simplicity and everything that we were talking about will probably be to its advantage. But I would gladly take a look at any future episodes from any of these pilots. I'd be fascinated to see where Gaslight District would go. But I just don't know if they'll make the decision to have that be something that they want to drop the dough on. Okay.
Well, if you're interested, when I looked this morning, the Gameoverse has the most views right now. And next is Gaslight District. The least amount of views is Knights of Guinevere. So
that's too bad.
Hey.
Yeah. I think that's unfortunate. And I don't know how you really explain it other than, it's just
I think
it's a tough sell. I think Knights of Guinevere is a show where it's like the more you try to describe it to another person, the less appealing it's going to sound. You have to really experience it and get into it. And,
it doesn't seem like it's going to be as gritty as the other stuff, and it ends up being pretty gritty by the end. And the art style doesn't set, like, I don't know. People are used to seeing grit in, like, the 3D animation because of video games. So the Digital Circus, Gaslight District, people are expecting the gore, the fun, the crazy, and then the sort of scuffed, maybe intentionally sort of reminiscent of Flash video, Gameoverse style. Same thing. People are used to, like, the crude, sort of wild, off-the-wall, bonkers, goof-tastic adventures. You know what I'm talking about? But the Disney animation style, people are expecting, like, this buttoned-up, we're going to sing a song for the opening kind of thing. And that's not what you're getting. You're getting more like run from the government with a death bot thing.
Yeah, I also think that people that know nothing and just see the title Knights of Guinevere turn it on, and it's like, where are the knights? Why aren't we in castles? This isn't medieval at all.
This doesn't remind me of medieval times.
Because literally, I didn't look into it beforehand at all, so I was actually shocked that that's not what it was about. I thought it was just going to be like kind of a regular fantasy. And I think it might approach that through the eyes of Guinevere. I don't know. But, it's a completely different thing. Well, that was fun. Took a lot longer than I thought it would, Tyler.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have added those extra categories at the end.
Yeah, those weren't the ones that we spent the most time on, but yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
I'm never right
Whenever
about
I
anything.
get
I don't
into
know what
those
you're
cases
talking
where it's
about.
like, should I add like a couple of more pieces to this? The answer is probably no. That's why we kind of
We live and
greatly
learn.
simplified what we were doing down to top fives at some point. I think we had 5 categories and ended up with 7. So yeah, it's just a little lesson that I haven't learned yet.
It's okay.
That's
we can
all right.
keep polishing.
Well, next week, sometime. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Whenever we see it, we're gonna come back as soon as we can with a Amazing Digital Circus finale reaction. We're gonna talk about our reactions after we went to the theater, saw the finale, and then depending on the timing of when we do that and how close that is to the 19th of June, the next episode might be a more detailed dive into that, or we might kind of call an audible, do something completely different, maybe
We
take
might
a peek
listen
into
to
another
a book
show, a movie.
on Audible.
Yeah, a little.
This episode is brought to you by Audible.
It's like listen to Holes, talk about Holes.
Oh yeah, Stanley Yelnats.
Yeah, it's just Stanley spelled backwards.
Yeah,
It's just like
so
got
easy.
Zero,
What
the
a
whole
crazy
gang.
writing convention.
They had those those lizards, those geckos that
Yeah,
kind of poisonous. Anyway, we
really
might talk
kicked off
about
Shia
Holes.
LaBeouf's career in movies.
I was a pre-Shia Holes guy. I was in those
like
holes
him.
long
Even
before
Stevens.
Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, well.
Well,
I
this has
think
been
that's
fun.
enough, Jackie.
Thank you for listening, everybody, to the Brother Sinatra podcast. I'm Jack Sinatra.
And I'm Tyler Sinatra. And we're
the
Brother
Sinatra. Have fun in those holes.
Oh, digging up those holes. Digging
Sorry, Dave.
Sorry, Dave.